Hello, everybody. Welcome to my kitchen. I hope everyone's having a good day. I thought we would get together today and make some vanilla custard cream, or you could call it vanilla custard pudding. It's a recipe from my mother. I have no idea where she got it from originally. Um, could be anywhere. So let's look at the ingredients. So we're going to start out with 2 cups of milk. Whole milk or 2% is fine. I wouldn't go any less fat than 2% though. And 1.5 rounded tablespoons of cornstarch. Now, this has always driven me crazy because that's the way she wrote it. And it's like, what is rounded? How high do you round it? Why do you say rounded? So, what I did was I did what I thought was the correct rounding on 1.5 tablespoons, and I measured what it actually created, and it was more like 2 level tablespoons and 1 level teaspoon. So that's what I recommend you do in the interest of being more accurate. All right, we're also going to need 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon or more of vanilla extract. Now, this is not creme anglaise. This is not creme pâtisserie. Those things use egg yolks. This is going to use 2 whole eggs. So it's similar, but not quite. Um, and let's just get started making it. So I have my burner here, my electric burner. I'm going to turn it on low and then pour in the milk. For my own purposes today, I'm actually doing 1.5 times the recipe. So if you see me pour in more than 2 cups of milk, it's still the recipe for 2 cups. I'm just making a little more because of what I need today. So we're going to slowly got to make sure the plug's in tight. Or plugged in at all. Ha! Okay. We're going to slowly bring the heat up. Now, we're not going to boil the milk like in other things. You want to get the milk to steam, to have a few light bubbles, but not boiling. So let's let that happen. Meanwhile, in a bowl, I am going to put in the sugar. The recipe says 3/4 of a cup of sugar for 2 cups of milk and 2 eggs. The cornstarch. Get a little spatula to scrape in the cornstarch. And then we're going to crack the eggs and mix them in to the sugar and cornstarch. All right, meanwhile, you keep an eye on this, make sure it doesn't get too hot too fast. So for my purposes today, I'm doing 3 eggs, not 2. And as always, I'm going to crack the egg into a bowl, look at it, and go, yep, that's an egg, all right. And then plop it in. This one already started to ooze out. All right. So there's the eggs that I need. And now I'm going to whisk this together. All the time, keeping an eye on my milk so that it doesn't get to a boiling stage. There. So this is all nice and whisked together. I don't have any lumps of sugar or cornstarch. That's what we want. So now, turning our attention back to the milk. Do you see any little bubbles coming? Nope. Let's see. Let me turn the heat up one click because we certainly don't want to stand here all day and wait for it. This recipe, like I said, was my mother's, so it goes back to the 50s or the 60s, a long time ago. She would use it to make a filling for a pie, a regular vanilla cream pie. You could mix in coconut cream pie, mix in bananas, banana cream pie, add a little chocolate to this mix, chocolate cream pie. There's lots of wonderful things you can do with this cream recipe. I know I'm sticking my finger in the milk, but that's okay. I know where my fingers have been. What else can I tell you? Today, after I make this vanilla custard, I'm going to make cream puffs or choux pastry. So I'm going to use this custard, this vanilla cream, to fill my cream puffs. So you need to make this first because it needs to cool and harden before you can use it to fill anything. So if you're going to use it in a pie, if you're going to use it in, you could make in a cake, you could make it the filling layer of a cake instead of doing frosting. And that's perfectly fine. You just want it good and firm. Oh, we're getting there. You want it good and firm so that it doesn't, ooze out. And what you do in that case is you take your buttercream frosting and you make like a ridge around the first layer. Let's say, you're doing a 2-layer cake. You make a ridge around the first layer so that it creates almost like a well. And then you fill it with the pudding, the custard, which has been chilled and is good and firm. And then you can put the top layer on and you'll be fine. All right, I'm starting to see some steam coming up, and that's good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to temper the eggs, because if I dumped all of this into that, I would have scrambled eggs, and that is the last thing I want. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm just going to pour in a couple splashes of milk and stir it in. And then maybe another splash or two. And what I'm doing now is I'm raising the temperature of the eggs so that they won't scramble when I go to add the egg mixture to the milk in the saucepan. It's not feeling warm enough, so I'm going to keep on doing it. I'm going to put in another splash or two. Splash, maybe a little bit more of a splash that time. Turn the heat down because I do not want that milk to boil. All right, so I've tempered the egg mixture. And now I'm going to slowly pour it into the milk. And stir while I'm doing it. Slow and steady, pouring it in. Keeping it stirring. No scrambled eggs here. just a lovely vanilla custard in the works. All right, we'll scrape out the bowl a little bit. We don't want to waste anything. And now it's important to constantly stir it. Whisk is the best thing to stir with, of course, because if anything's going to create a little lump, the whisk will take care of it. And here we go. So now I'm going to stir it and continue to cook it until it thickens. And how do you know when it's thick enough? Well, you can feel the difference in the resistance as you're whisking it. Another good way to do it is with a regular spoon. I don't know, not so much a regular spoon, but a mixing spoon, a plastic spoon, a metal spoon. It kind of coats the back of the spoon when it's thick. So there's a couple ways to tell. But so my heat, I'm on a medium low heat from 1 to 6, 6 being the highest. I'm between a 3 and a 4. So I guess that's medium. Right now I've got like a white film on top. To me, that just means that it's cooking. Once it's cooked through, I won't see that anymore. I'll just see the beautiful yellow of the custard. I keep calling it custard. I don't know if that's the correct term. Somebody should look up for the precise definition of custard. Maybe I'll do that when I'm done. I always like to know the details about these things. All right, I'm going to stop stirring for 5 seconds while I go and grab a spoon, which I should have been prepared with, but obviously I wasn't. Okay. Back. You can see the burner is hot. You can feel the heat. Maybe I'll go down to a 3 instead of 3.5. I'm seeing steam coming up the top now. And that's good. That's what you want to see. It means that the milk, the hotter the milk gets, the more it's going to thicker, not the more, the quicker it's going to thicken the milk and the egg into a nice pudding. In Britain, pudding was any kind of a dessert. And I don't know if because a cooked sauce was the first thing, that they considered a dessert. I'm not totally up to date on all the history of British dessert terms. But I do like watching the British baking show. So, and I do have Paul Hollywood's cookbook, and I do have a Mary Berry cookbook. Very, very interesting recipes. I might do Paul Hollywood's scone recipe to demonstrate in the videos. All right, I think the burner's really red, so I'm going to turn it down another click to 2. Steam is really coming up. I can feel it starting to thicken. I'm going to use my metal tablespoon, but no, it's not there yet. Not yet. So it took about 10 minutes for the custard to come to its thickest. And here it is with a metal spoon, and you can see how it really coats the back of the spoon and the front of the spoon. And I can feel how thick it is. So that's good. It's done. I'm going to take it off the heat. And now I'm going to stir in the vanilla. You know, I said in my other videos, I make my own vanilla. It's not easy. It's a fair amount of time waiting for the vanilla to age, but oh, it's so worth it. And the price of what it costs to make it opposed to the price of buying the vanilla in the store, I think it's a bargain. All right, so the vanilla is now stirred in and it smells wonderful, looks pretty good too. So now I'm going to take my bowl and I'm going to pour the vanilla custard into it because now I want it to cool. Okay, so there it is, and it's made plenty for what I want to do with it today, which is to fill cream puffs and to have a little custard dessert later. Now it's got to cool. I will let it sit on the counter for maybe a half hour, and then I'll put it in the refrigerator. And what you want to do is you want to put a piece of plastic wrap over top of it because you don't want it to form a skin, and a skin will form if you just leave it open like this. So my plastic wrap, which is wrapping around itself, there. And we're going to press it down on the surface gently. When it cools, it'll peel right off the surface. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to leave this for a while, let it come to room temperature, and then I'm going to refrigerate it, chill it nicely, and then later on today, I'm going to make shoe pastry, which are cream puffs or eclairs, and use this for the filling. So, thanks for being with me so far today. Hopefully you will come back and look at the video for the cream puffs. Take care. Goodbye from Cindy's Kitchen.